There's a photograph from 1942, a young woman, 25 years old, Soviet Army uniform, sniper rifle across her lap. She is smiling. The caption says she's killed 3 Kharkinian enemy soldiers, 309 confirmed kills, each one verified, each one recorded. She is a hero, a celebrity, the most successful female sniper in history. But look closer at the photograph. Look at her eyes. Behind the smile, something is already breaking, something that will never fully heal. This woman, Lyudmila Pavlichenko, will live another 32 years after this photo. But she will never stop seeing the faces, never stop hearing the sounds, never escape what 309 kills did to her mind. This is not a story about heroism, not primarily. This is a story about cost, about what happens when you become very good at killing, about the difference between being effective and being whole, about how war breaks people in ways that medals cannot fix and propaganda cannot hide, about the 309 men she killed and the one woman who died slowly over 32 years because of it. Lyudmila Mikhailovna Pavlichenko was born in 1916 in Ukraine. Not destined for war, not raised to kill. She was university student, studying history, smart, ambitious, normal life, normal dreams. Then Germany invaded, June 1941. Everything changed. The Soviet Union needed soldiers, needed everyone. Lyudmila volunteered. She was 24 years old. The recruiting officer tried to assign her to nursing. Standard assignment for women, treat wounded, support role, stay away from combat. Lyudmila refused. She'd been shooting since age 14, member of shooting club, had natural talent, exceptional hand-eye coordination, steady hands, patience. She demanded combat role, demanded to be sniper. The officer was skeptical. Women did not fight, did not kill. This was 1941. Traditional thinking, but Soviet Union was desperate, needed every capable shooter. They tested her, she qualified, they sent her to sniper school. The training was brief, 6 weeks. Learn the rifle, learn the scope, learn to estimate range, learn to read wind, learn to wait, learn to kill. Lyudmila absorbed everything. She was not the strongest, not the fastest, but she was smartest in her class, understood ballistics, understood patience, understood that sniping was not about shooting. It was about thinking, about being smarter than your target. She graduated top of class, assigned to 25th Rifle Division, sent to Odessa, sent to war. Her first kill was August 1941. German officer, 400 meters. Through the scope she could see his face clearly. Young, maybe 25. Same age as her. He was smoking, talking to another soldier, relaxed, did not know she was there. She aimed, breathed, squeezed trigger. The rifle bucked. Through the scope she saw the impact, saw him fall, saw the other soldier react, panic, look around, not knowing where the shot came from. She did not fire again. One shot, mission complete. Withdraw. She expected to feel something. Horror maybe, guilt, satisfaction. She felt nothing. Just empty. Clinical. Target eliminated. Objective achieved. That emptiness should have been warning, but she did not recognize it, not then. Later, she would understand. The emptiness was her mind protecting itself, shutting down emotion, building wall between action and feeling. That wall would grow thicker with each kill, and eventually it would collapse, but not yet. Not for 308 more kills. The siege of Odessa lasted 73 days. Lyudmila was active throughout. She killed 187 German and Romanian soldiers during those 73 days, average of 2 off kills per day. Some days she killed 5 or 6, some days none. Depended on opportunities, on targets, on tactical situation. Each kill was recorded, verified by spotter, logged in combat record. The number grew. 20, 50, 100, 150. Each number was a person. Each person had a face. She saw every face through her scope, could not avoid it. That was the job. Identify target, confirm target, kill target, always through the scope, always seeing the face clearly. After Odessa fell, she was evacuated to Sevastopol, Crimean Peninsula, another siege, worse than Odessa, more desperate, more brutal. She continued sniping. The count continued growing. 200, 250, 300. She was promoted, made lieutenant, given medals, recognized as hero. Soviet propaganda celebrated her. Lady Death, they called her. The deadliest female sniper, symbol of Soviet resistance, woman fighting as equal to men. She appeared in posters, in newspapers, in newsreels, smiling, confident, heroic. But inside, something was changing. The wall her mind had built was developing cracks, small at first, nightmares, occasional, nothing serious, just combat stress. Everyone had nightmares. Then the nightmares became more frequent, more vivid. She started seeing the faces during daytime, flashes, moments, the young officer from her first kill, others, men she had killed weeks ago, months ago, their faces appearing unexpectedly, in crowds, in shadows, in reflections. She did not report this, could not. Weakness was not acceptable, especially not for woman. She had fought to be taken seriously, to be allowed to fight. Admitting psychological problems would confirm what skeptics believed, that women could not handle combat, that killing was too much for them. She stayed silent, kept fighting, kept killing. The count reached 309. Then she was wounded. June 1942, mortar explosion, shrapnel in face and body, serious injuries, evacuated from Sevastopol. Her combat service ended. She had survived. 309 confirmed kills. Most successful female sniper in history. Hero of Soviet Union. She was 25 years old. The Soviet government recognized her value as propaganda. They pulled her from combat permanently. Too valuable to risk. Sent her on publicity tour. United States, Canada, United Kingdom. Meet with leaders, give speeches, inspire support for Soviet war effort. She met Eleanor Roosevelt, met President Franklin Roosevelt, spoke to crowds of thousands, told them about fighting Nazis, about Soviet sacrifice, about women's capability in combat. She was articulate, compelling, effective spokesperson, but privately she was deteriorating. The faces were constant now, not just in nightmares, all the time, waking, sleeping. The 309 men she had killed. She remembered many of them, their expressions, what they were doing when she shot them. Young officer smoking, soldier eating, another soldier reading letter. One was laughing at something. She shot him mid-laugh. Through the scope, she saw his expression change. From joy to nothing. Instant. That image haunted her particularly, the laugh dying. She started drinking. Not heavily at first, just enough to quiet the faces, enough to sleep without nightmares. But tolerance builds. The amount needed to achieve quiet increased. By 1943, she was drinking daily, heavily. Soviet officials noticed, tried to control it, reduced her public appearances, gave her desk job, kept her away from alcohol when possible. But they could not monitor her constantly. She found ways. The war ended in 1945. Lyudmila tried to resume normal life, returned to university, completed her history degree, got job at Soviet Navy headquarters, historian, researcher, desk work, safe, quiet. But the transition to peacetime was brutal. During war, the killing had purpose, had context, defending homeland, fighting invaders, protecting people. The killing was justified, necessary. But after war, in quiet moments, the justifications felt hollow. She had killed 309 people, 309 individuals, each with family, with loved ones, with dreams. And she had ended them. Deliberately, precisely, efficiently. The faces became unbearable. She could not escape them. She tried therapy. Soviet therapists had limited understanding of PTSD. They prescribed rest, exercise, positive thinking. None of it helped. She tried medication, sedatives, helped her sleep but did not stop the nightmares. She tried alcohol more seriously. It worked temporarily, numbed the faces, quieted the memories, but created new problems. Health problems, social problems, work problems. She married twice. Both marriages failed. She could not maintain intimacy, could not be vulnerable. The wall she had built during war to protect herself from feeling, during killing, now prevented her from feeling connection, from feeling love. Her husbands tried, but living with someone who sees ghosts constantly is exhausting. Both marriages ended in divorce. She remained alone. In 1950s and 1960s, she worked quietly, stayed out of public view. Soviet government occasionally brought her out for ceremonies, anniversary celebrations, medal presentations. She attended, performed her role, smiled for cameras, gave brief speeches, then returned to isolation. The heroic young woman from the 1942 photograph was gone, replaced by a middle-aged woman who drank too much and slept too little and saw too many ghosts. Her son from first marriage tried to help. He did not fully understand. How could he? She could not explain, could not articulate what 309 kills did to a person, could not describe how it felt to see those faces constantly, to remember each kill, to wonder about the families, the mothers who lost sons, the wives who lost husbands, the children who lost fathers. 309 families destroyed, by her, directly, precisely. She was very good at her job. That was the problem. If she'd been mediocre sniper, maybe fewer ghosts, maybe more peace. But she was exceptional. 309 exceptional kills, 309 permanent ghosts. In 1957, she gave rare interview. Journalist asked about her war experience, about the killing. She answered honestly, more honestly than she should have, perhaps. She said, "I killed 309 fascist invaders, but I see all of their faces, every single one. I cannot forget them. I do not want to forget them. They deserve to be remembered, even if only by me, even if the remembering destroys me." The interview was published in limited circulation. Soviet censors did not like the tone. Too negative, too personal. War heroes were supposed to be proud, strong, untroubled by their service. Lyudmila was none of these. She was broken, haunted, regretful despite the necessity of her actions. That did not fit propaganda narrative. The interview was buried. She gave no more interviews. The 1960s were particularly dark. Her health declined. Alcohol had taken toll. Liver problems, heart problems. She looked 20 years older than her actual age. Friends from the war visited occasionally. Other snipers, other soldiers. They understood better than civilians. They had killed too. Fewer. Dozens, not hundreds, but enough to understand. Enough to see the same ghosts in their own eyes. They drank together, shared silence. Words were inadequate. One friend, fellow sniper who had 72 confirmed kills, told her, "It gets easier. The faces fade." Lyudmila looked at her, sad smile, said, "No, they don't. You just get better at pretending they do." The friend had no response. They both knew Lyudmila was right. The faces never fade. You just learn to function despite them. Most days. Some days you cannot. Those days are very dark. In 1974, Lyudmila's health deteriorated sharply. Stroke, severe, hospitalized. She was 58 years old, looked 75. The years of alcohol, stress, and sleeplessness had aged her dramatically. She recovered partially, but was never the same. Mobility limited. Speech affected. She moved into small apartment, alone. Visitors were rare. She preferred it that way. Easier to be alone with ghosts than to pretend normalcy around others. She died October 10, 1974, stroke, 58 years old, 32 years after her combat service ended, 32 years of living with 309 ghosts. The Soviet government gave her state funeral, military honors, speeches about her heroism, her sacrifice, her service to motherland. They buried her with full honors, hero of Soviet Union, the most successful female sniper in history. But Lyudmila Pavlichenko died long before October 1974. The real Lyudmila, the university student who loved history and had dreams beyond war, she died somewhere in Odessa or Sevastopol, somewhere between kill 50 and kill 200. The woman who survived the war was different person, haunted person, broken person, person who existed but did not truly live. The 32 years after war were not life. They were extended dying, slow dissolution of the person who had been Lyudmila before the killing started. The tragedy is not that she killed 309 men. In context of war, of defending homeland against invasion, those kills were justified, were necessary. The tragedy is what those necessary kills did to her. The cost she paid, not in injury, not in physical harm, but in psychological destruction, in the loss of peace, in the inability to ever again feel normal, to ever again sleep without nightmares, to ever again look at another person without wondering if they could be target, without seeing them through a scope, calculating range, windage, trigger pull. This is the cost propaganda never shows. The posters celebrated Lady Death, the newspapers praised her skill, the medals honored her service, but nobody talked about the price. Nobody documented the nightmares, the alcoholism, the failed marriages, the isolation, the ghosts, the slow death of the person who killed 309 times and could never forget. Modern understanding of PTSD would recognize Lyudmila's symptoms immediately. Intrusive memories, flashbacks, hypervigilance, avoidance, emotional numbing, alcohol abuse as self-medication, all textbook, all treatable. If she had access to modern therapy, to trauma-focused treatment, to support systems designed for combat veterans, maybe outcomes would have been different. Maybe she could have found peace. Maybe the ghosts would have faded, not disappeared. Never disappeared, but faded enough to allow real life, real connection, real peace. But she did not have access to these things. She had Soviet psychology of 1940s, 1970s, which did not really recognize PTSD, which viewed psychological symptoms as weakness, which prescribed rest and positive thinking, which failed her completely. She was on her own with 309 ghosts for 32 years, until death finally brought the quiet she could never find in life. Other female Soviet snipers had similar experiences, not all. Some transitioned to peacetime successfully, maintained relationships, lived relatively normal lives, but many struggled. Rosa Shanina, killed 59, died in combat 1945, age 20. Lucky perhaps, did not have to face peacetime with the ghosts. Nina Lobkovskaya, killed 89, survived war, alcoholism, suicide 1954. Could not escape the faces. The pattern is clear. The more kills, the worse the outcome. Not universally, but generally. Killing changes you. Killing once is trauma. Killing 10 times is severe trauma. Killing 100 times is something beyond normal trauma categories. Killing 309 times is psychological destruction, even if every kill was justified. Even if every kill was necessary. The human mind is not designed to kill 309 times and remain intact. Some people survive it. Most do not. Lyudmila did not. This raises uncomfortable questions. Should women be in combat? The answer from Lyudmila's story is not that women are too weak. She proved women are equally capable of combat effectiveness. 309 confirmed kills proves this. Women can kill as efficiently as men. But should they? Should anyone? Should we celebrate killing efficiency? Should we create propaganda around body counts? Should we turn soldiers into heroes based on how many people they killed? Lyudmila would say no. In her 1957 interview, she was asked if she was proud of her record. She answered, "I am proud I defended my country. I am not proud of killing. Nobody should be proud of killing. Killing is necessary sometimes, but never something to celebrate, never something to be proud of. Every kill is a tragedy, even necessary kills, especially necessary kills, because you cannot avoid them, but you must live with them forever. This is wisdom earned through suffering. Through 309 necessary kills, through 32 years of ghosts, through alcoholism and isolation and failed marriages and nightmares, through the slow death of the person she was, this wisdom should be heard, should inform how we train soldiers, how we use them, how we celebrate them, how we support them after. Lyudmila Pavlichenko was exceptional sniper, this is fact. 309 confirmed kills, record that still stands, most successful female sniper in history, but she was also human being, person with feelings, with conscience, with capacity for love and connection and joy. War and killing destroyed that capacity, left her with only the ability to function, to exist, but not to live. Not really. The photograph from 1942 shows young woman smiling. Behind the smile, if you look carefully, you can see it starting. The emptiness, the wall, the protection her mind was building. That wall kept her functional during war, allowed her to kill 309 times without breaking during combat. But walls built to keep horror out also keep connection out, keep love out, keep life out. The wall that saved her during war killed her during peace, slowly, over 32 years, until nothing remained but ghosts and alcohol and exhaustion. She deserved better. All soldiers who killed deserve better. Better support, better understanding, better treatment, not celebration, support, recognition that killing, even necessary killing, even justified killing, damages the killer. That damage is real, is valid, is worthy of serious attention and treatment. Lyudmila never received this. She received medals and praise and celebration, but not help, not healing, not peace. Her grave is in Moscow, Novodevichy Cemetery, beautiful place, many famous Russians buried there. Her grave has flowers often, visitors, people who remember her as hero, as symbol, as Lady Death. But they remember the propaganda, the myth, not the person. Not the woman who saw 309 faces every day for 32 years. Not the woman who drank to forget but could never forget. Not the woman who died slowly because killing, even necessary killing, destroyed her from inside. This is Lyudmila Pavlichenko's real story, not the hero story, the human story, the tragedy. The woman who killed 309 men and could never forget their faces, could never escape their ghosts, could never find peace, who survived war but could not survive peace, who lived 32 years after combat but was already dead inside, who paid the ultimate price not in death but in life, in living death, in existence without living. That is the cost. That is what 309 kills did to one very capable, very brave, very broken woman. May she finally have the peace that eluded her for 32 years. May the 309 faces finally fade. May the ghosts finally rest. May Lyudmila Pavlichenko, not Lady Death, not the propaganda hero, but the young history student who loved learning and had dreams beyond war, may she finally be free of what necessity forced her to become. 309 men killed, one woman destroyed, the arithmetic of war, the cost that propaganda never counts. The deeper examination of Lyudmila's psychological deterioration reveals patterns that modern trauma psychology recognizes. Her first kills in Odessa established what would become permanent neural pathways. Each time she looked through the scope, saw a face, calculated the shot, pulled the trigger, and watched the impact, her brain recorded everything. Visual memory, emotional context, sensory details. The scope of a sniper rifle magnifies not just the target, but the humanity. You see details, facial expressions, emotions, individual characteristics. This is fundamentally different from other combat killing. Infantry firing rifle at 300 meters sees silhouettes. Artillery crew firing at coordinates sees nothing. Bomber crew dropping bombs from altitude sees only terrain. But sniper sees faces. Always faces, cannot avoid it. The magnification necessary for precise shooting ensures you witness the humanity of your target before ending it. This creates unique psychological burden. Lyudmila described this in a letter to fellow sniper in 1955. The letter was private, never published, discovered in archives decades later. She wrote, "People think sniping is easy because you are distant from target. They do not understand. Distance makes it harder, not easier. You see them as people, you see their humanity. Then you kill them anyway. That is harder than killing face-to-face in heat of combat. Much harder, because you have time to think, time to see, time to know what you are doing, and you do it anyway, because orders, because duty, because necessity. But the necessity does not erase the knowing. This knowing is the core of her trauma. She knew what she was doing, could not pretend otherwise, could not hide behind distance or abstraction. Each kill was conscious, deliberate, witnessed. That consciousness created indelible memory, and 309 indelible memories do not fade. They accumulate, they compound, they overwhelm. Modern research on snipers confirms this pattern. Studies of American snipers from Iraq and Afghanistan show PTSD rates significantly higher than general infantry. Not because snipers experience more combat. Often, they experience less volume of combat. But the type of combat is more psychologically damaging. The intimacy, the premeditation, the witnessing, these factors create deeper trauma. One study from 2015 examined 200 combat snipers, found that 67% experienced clinically significant PTSD symptoms. Among those, the severity correlated with kill count. Snipers with fewer than 10 confirmed kills had moderate symptoms. Snipers with 20-50 kills had severe symptoms. No snipers in the study had more than 60 confirmed kills. Lyudmila had 309. 5 times more than anyone in modern study. The psychological load is almost unimaginable. The symptoms she experienced are textbook PTSD, intrusive memories, the faces appearing unexpectedly, during day, during night, triggered by random stimuli, a face in crowd that resembled a target, a sound similar to rifle shot, a smell that evoked the battlefield. These triggers activated full sensory memories. She would suddenly be back in scope, seeing the face, pulling trigger, watching impact. The memory was not intellectual recollection. It was reliving, complete with physiological response, heart rate increase, breathing change, stress hormones flooding system. The nightmares were particularly severe. Sleep should be refuge. But for Lyudmila, sleep became theater of horror. The nightmares recycled the kills, sometimes accurate replay, sometimes distorted. Sometimes the faces spoke to her, asked why, begged for mercy. Sometimes they showed her their families, children, wives, mothers. The nightmare brain created context she did not have during actual kills, invented details that made the humanity more vivid, more painful. She tried sleeping pills, available in Soviet Union, barbiturates mostly. They induced sleep but did not prevent nightmares, sometimes made them worse. Barbiturate sleep is not natural sleep. REM patterns are disrupted. Dreams become more bizarre, more intense. She would wake feeling more exhausted than before sleeping. The pills helped initially, gave her hours of unconsciousness, but the nightmares broke through. Always, the ghosts would not be silenced by chemicals. Alcohol worked better, not at preventing nightmares, but at numbing the emotional impact. Drunk enough, the nightmares still came, but she cared less, felt less. The faces appeared but seemed more distant. Alcohol created the emotional buffer that her mind could not. But alcohol has costs. Physical costs, liver damage, heart damage, cognitive decline, and psychological costs, dependency, tolerance, withdrawal. The cure became its own problem. Her drinking started moderately. Glass of vodka before bed helped her sleep, reduced. Anxiety, manageable, within Soviet cultural norms. Vodka was common, social, acceptable. But tolerance builds quickly with regular use. The single glass became 2, then 3. Then drinking started earlier in evening, then during day. By 1950, she was drinking throughout day, maintaining constant mild intoxication, just enough to quiet the faces, not enough to be obviously drunk. Functional alcoholism. Her colleagues at Soviet Navy headquarters noticed subtle signs, slight tremor in hands during morning, smell of alcohol on breath, declining work quality. They were sympathetic. Many were veterans, understood combat stress, made accommodations, covered for her, reduced her workload, allowed flexible schedule. But they could not stop the progression. Alcoholism has its own momentum. Once established, it resists intervention, especially without professional treatment. And professional addiction treatment barely existed in 1950 Soviet Union. Her marriages failed predictably. Both husbands were military officers. Both understood combat. Both tried to be supportive. But intimacy was impossible. Lyudmila could not be vulnerable, could not lower her walls. The protection she had built to survive killing prevented her from accepting love. She functioned in marriage the way she functioned in everything, going through motions, performing role, but emotionally absent, disconnected. The husbands felt it, tried to break through, failed, eventually gave up. Both divorces were quiet, mutual acknowledgement that the marriage existed in form only, not in substance. She never remarried after second divorce, never had romantic relationships. The capacity was gone, destroyed, not by choice, but by necessity. The killing required her to shut down empathy, to see humans as targets. That shutdown worked during war, but could not be reversed after. The switch that turned off empathy to enable killing could not be turned back on to enable love. The mechanism was broken. She was broken. Her son from first marriage tried to maintain relationship. He was young child during war, did not remember her combat service, grew up knowing his mother was hero, famous, decorated, but distant, always distant, even when physically present, emotionally absent. He tried to connect, as child, as teenager, as adult, but could not reach her. The wall was impenetrable. He eventually maintained only dutiful contact, visits on holidays, phone calls monthly, but no real connection, could not connect to someone who was not really there. In 1960s, several other female Soviet snipers attempted to organize support group, informal, just veterans meeting, sharing experiences, trying to help each other. Lyudmila attended first meeting, but could not continue. Being around other snipers triggered too many memories, too many faces. The others had killed dozens. She had killed hundreds. The scale of her trauma was different, isolating. Even among other snipers, she was alone. They could not understand what 309 kills did. Could not relate. She stopped attending, remained isolated. The isolation became total. By 1970, she had essentially no social contact beyond work, no friends, no family visits, no social activities, just work and home. Home and work and alcohol, the faces, the nightmares, the ghosts, alone with all of it. This is common pattern in severe PTSD. The sufferer isolates because being around people is exhausting, requires maintaining facade, pretending normalcy. Isolation is easier, less demanding, but isolation also accelerates decline. Humans are social animals, need connection. Without it, we deteriorate. Lyudmila deteriorated. Her stroke in 1974 was almost relief. Sudden, severe, hospitalized. She could stop pretending, could acknowledge that she was broken, that she could not function. During hospital stay, doctors tried to understand her medical history, asked about alcohol use. She was honest, told them about the drinking, how much, how long, how often. The doctors were alarmed. Her liver was severely damaged, cirrhosis. Her heart showed damage from years of stress and alcohol. Her overall health was that of 75-year-old. She was 58. The doctors asked why the drinking, why the self-destruction. She told them, partially, said she had combat trauma, nightmares, needed the alcohol to cope. The doctors nodded, prescribed rest, rehabilitation, sobriety, standard recommendations, but inadequate for the scale of her trauma. She tried to comply, stop drinking during hospital stay. The nightmares exploded. Without alcohol buffer, they were unbearable. Full intensity, unfiltered. She could not sleep, could not rest, could not function. After 3 days sober, she demanded alcohol. Doctors refused. She became agitated, violent. They had to sedate her. That pattern repeated. Any attempt at sobriety resulted in psychological crisis. The doctors gave up, allowed limited alcohol, maintenance drinking, just enough to prevent withdrawal and crisis. She was discharged from hospital after 6 weeks, returned to apartment, resumed drinking, resumed isolation. But the stroke had damaged her mobility. She needed cane to walk. Her speech was slightly slurred. Her cognition was impaired, subtle, but noticeable. She could no longer work, retired on medical disability. Now her isolation was complete. No work, no social contact, no purpose, just existing, waiting. The final months were particularly dark. She knew she was dying, liver failure, heart failure, body shutting down after decades of abuse. She wrote letters during this time, to her son, to few remaining contacts. The letters were farewells, apologies, explanations. One letter to her son is particularly revealing, never published, kept private by family. But historians later accessed it. She wrote, "I know I was not good mother, could not be. The war took that ability from me, took everything soft, everything warm, left only the ability to kill, and the burden of having killed. I am sorry. You deserved better, mother. You deserved someone whole, but I was broken before you could remember. Broken by necessity, broken by duty, broken by 309 kills that saved Soviet Union but destroyed me. I do not regret defending homeland. I regret that defense cost me my humanity, cost you your mother, cost us both what we should have had. I am sorry." The letter reveals her self-awareness. She understood what happened to her, understood the cost, but could do nothing about it. Understanding does not equal healing. Knowledge does not equal peace. She knew she was broken, knew why, but could not fix it. That knowledge added its own burden, guilt for being broken, guilt for failing her son, guilt for surviving when perhaps should have died, survivor guilt layered on top of everything else. She died October 10, 1974, found in her apartment, stroke, final one. She had been dead approximately 12 hours when discovered, alone, as she'd been for most of 32 years since war. The state funeral was elaborate. Soviet leadership attended. speeches about heroism, about service, about sacrifice. But they celebrated myth, not person, myth of Lady Death, perfect sniper, perfect soldier, perfect hero. The person Lyudmila Pavlichenko was someone different, someone wounded, someone suffering, someone they never acknowledged, never helped, never understood. Her medals were displayed at funeral. Hero of Soviet Union, Order of Lenin, multiple others. The medals meant nothing to her. She said this in 1957 interview. Medals are metal. They cannot erase memories, cannot bring peace, cannot heal wounds. They sit in drawer. I never look at them. They represent what I did, not who I am. I am not the medals. I am the faces, the ghosts, the broken woman who killed 309 times and cannot forget. This distinction is crucial. Military celebrates killing efficiency, honors body counts, awards medals for confirmed kills, but ignores the psychological cost, ignores the trauma, ignores the humanity of the killer, treats soldiers as machines, as tools, use them, wear them out, discard them. Lyudmila was used, 309 kills worth of use, then set aside. Given medals and praise, but no real support, no real understanding, no real help. She was valuable as propaganda, as symbol, not as person, never as person. This pattern continues. Modern militaries are better about PTSD recognition, better about treatment availability, but still fundamentally misunderstand the cost of killing, still celebrate snipers for kill counts, still award medals for killing efficiency, still create propaganda around body counts, and snipers still suffer disproportionate PTSD, still struggle with isolation, still abuse alcohol and drugs, still have failed relationships, still die younger than they should. Lyudmila's story repeats. Different wars, different soldiers, same pattern. The lesson should be clear. Killing damages the killer, even justified killing, even necessary killing. This is not weakness, not moral, failing, just reality. Humans are not designed to kill other humans repeatedly without psychological consequences. We have empathy, have mirror neurons, have capacity to recognize humanity in others. When we kill, we override these systems, temporarily, forcibly. But those systems do not shut down permanently. They reassert, they demand accounting, and that accounting is PTSD, is nightmares, is flashbacks, is intrusive memories, is all the symptoms Lyudmila experienced. The military solution cannot be to celebrate this damage, cannot be to give medals and move on, must be comprehensive support, must be recognition that combat trauma, especially killing trauma, especially repetitive killing trauma, creates deep psychological wounds that require serious long-term treatment, must be commitment to providing that treatment, not as optional, as mandatory, as part of the cost of using soldiers to kill. Lyudmila never received this treatment. Soviet Union in 1940s, 1970s did not have it to give, but modern militaries do, have the knowledge, have the treatment methods, have the resources. The question is whether they have the will, whether they will commit to actually caring for soldiers who kill in their service, or whether they will continue pattern of use and discard, of celebrate and forget, of Lyudmila's experience repeating indefinitely. Her grave in Moscow is visited by many, especially young women, who see her as feminist icon, as proof that women can do anything men can do, and they are right. She proved this. 309 kills proved this. Women are equally capable of combat effectiveness, but that is not the lesson her life teaches. The lesson is about cost, about what combat effectiveness costs, about what killing costs, about what 309 kills cost one very capable, very brave, very destroyed woman. If you visit her grave, Look past the propaganda, past the myth. See the person. See the 24-year-old university student who volunteered to defend her country, who was trained to kill, who became very good at killing, who killed 309 times, and who paid the price every day for the remaining 32 years of her life, who never found peace, never found healing, never escaped the faces, who died slowly, alone, broken. That is the real story. That is the lesson. That is what we must remember when we celebrate war heroes, when we award medals for kills, when we send soldiers to fight. The cost is not just the dead. The cost is the living dead, the ones who survive combat but cannot survive peace, who live but do not have life, who exist but cannot connect, cannot love, cannot forget, cannot heal. Lyudmila Pavlichenko killed 309 men and could never forget their faces. This is not the story of hero. This is the story of victim, victim of war, victim of necessity, victim of a system that used her capacity to kill without acknowledging the cost of that use. She deserved better. All soldiers who kill deserve better, better support, better treatment, better acknowledgement of the cost. May her story teach us. May the 309 faces she could never forget remind us of the cost. May her 32 years of suffering inform how we treat soldiers who kill in our service. May we finally learn that killing has cost, always, even necessary killing, even justified killing, and that cost must be paid in support, in treatment, in recognition, in actually caring for the warriors we create. Lyudmila Pavlichenko, history student, soldier, sniper, hero, victim, ghost. May she finally rest. May the faces finally fade. May the peace that eluded her in life finally be hers in death. 309 kills, 1 destroyed life, the true cost of war.